Hey, we're back with another episode of the Torch Mom podcast, which aims to empower moms to live their lives to the fullest, embracing their desires and passions without guilt or judgment. Through open and honest conversations, we hope to create a space that encourages self exploration, self expression, and self acceptance for all moms. Tonight, we have an incredible group to have an amazing discussion with some torch moms that are taking on risk and crushing hate daily. Welcome back, Ty, and welcome,
Hello.
Carla. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You
How
are
are you guys
so
doing?
welcome.
I'm great. Thank you.
Yes, I'm well. I'm well. I'm excited. I'm excited.
I am excited too. As you guys know, this is the final episode of season 2. I am so excited. And my birthday follows up this Friday, December 1st. So that's even more exciting that I get to spend this time with you guys before my birthday.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
happy
Happy
early
early
birthday.
birthday.
Okay. So as we know, the topic is okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So for our topic today, we're discussing mommy guilt. Breaking free from societal norms is a big thing out here. And I feel like this episode will help a lot of moms feel more comfortable to be themselves, be authentic. There's no handbook to parenting. So do your own thing and feel comfortable in your truth while you're doing so. Okay.
That's the whole show right there. That's
So
it.
the first topic, okay, the first topic we're going to go over tonight is exploring the origins of mommy guilt.
Okay.
All right.
So my first question for you guys is if you could give me, each of you, a name of one societal or cultural expectation that contributes to mommy guilt.
Oh, uh,
Carla, you want to go first? You can
yeah,
go
I can
first.
go
I got
first.
25.
Uh, I mean, one, of course, I would say not having enough time in the day. You know what I mean? Like feeling like society expects you to be able to get it all done. You know how they put like a time frame on, working 9 to 5, right? You know what I mean? I think that it's the same thing. It's like you got this amount of time and this amount of time to get it done. And if you don't get it done, then I don't want to say you're a bad mom, but if you don't get it done, then you could have done better. You know what I mean?
That's exactly how they feel.
Like you're a bad mom. So it puts the pressure on you to get it all done like a superwoman. So that's one of my biggest.
Yeah, that's exactly how they feel. As a matter of fact, that was one of my
Okay.
biggest ones too. The 24/7 is the other one that kills me. The you gotta be a mom 25/8, and if you are not, God forbid, you go outside with your kids more than twice a week, everybody is looking like, well, where her kids at? What's she doing? How's she doing this? If she got kids, it's like they don't expect you to breathe. Lord, if you are not, doing it all day, every day, they assume that you are not doing it at all. Like on social media, I rarely post my kids. I post a lot about my business. I post a lot about me going out, having fun. I take trips. I rarely post my kids on the internet unless it's like an accomplishment and or like a holiday or something like that or something I'm
Mm-hmm.
proud of. And people will really think like, oh, she's never with her kids.
Right.
Little do they know my daughter has danced 5 days a week. I see that child more than I probably need to, honestly. I am back and forth at recitals, orchestra, everything. I am the only parent that does doctor's appointments, rehearsals, things like that. My daughter's dad does 2 days out the week. So I am there the other 5 days, but people assume when they don't see it that it's not happening. And that happens a lot in motherhood. If you take a vacation without your children, it's like death to us all.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like
Mm-hmm.
another
Mm-hmm. Man.
stereotype or would be like, you know, you think about when you become a mom and you're going through, things and life happens and situations come up and you know society or people in your life are like, well, you knew what it was when you decided to have a kid. Like nobody told you to get pregnant. Like you knew what it was. It's like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
did
But
I?
did I?
And then the average person who is saying this has no kids. You know what I mean? They have no kids,
None.
it's no experience, so they don't even know
Mm-hmm.
what we're going through. So, I would say that one of those stereotypes is that, we
Mm-hmm.
knew what we were getting ourselves into. You know what I mean? And and not even to say that now that we're in it, that we're not embracing it, but it's still like sometimes I,
Hard.
sometimes I just need to vent and let you reflect that I'm having a hard time right now.
Yeah. And I don't think we are given, especially as
Mm-hmm.
women, I don't know if we are given that space to say, I don't want to do this right this second. I think a lot of times we're not allowed
Yep.
to vent. And that's what then stimulates us to feel like we don't want to do it because we don't have the space to let the air out. We're just building up all this pressure and we're not releasing anything. Then you get to that point where I can't do this no more. Whereas if we were allowed grace through the process, and allowed to push through the
Mm-hmm.
process and vent, we wouldn't be getting to this point where we're like, this is so hard. Because it really doesn't. I mean, it's hard, but it doesn't have to be as hard as it is without the pressure of what is expected.
Yeah, fact. Yeah, and
Yep.
also like I just I think one of the other things that stands out for me is like the way I'm raising my kids versus the way my mom raised me is
Mhm.
completely different.
Yep.
I'm talking about completely different. And so even things that are happening
Mm-hmm.
in the household between me and my kids, that's what's happening in our household. Like, mom, you had a husband to help you with the traditional, family things. I'm running this household alone. So my kids might be washing their own clothes and my kids learn how to cook sooner and when Uber came about and I got comfortable enough with them catching Uber, yeah, they're
Going
catching
on.
yeah, they're catching Uber, mom. Yeah, they're catching the train in the seventh grade. Yeah, because this is what works for us over here. So
Yep.
one of the stereotypes that I think as a single mom you have to be pushing through is understanding and not even explaining or feeling bad about what dynamics you have created for you in your household versus what everybody else thinks we're supposed to be doing, whether that's your mom, your dad,
Yep.
kids' fathers, your co-workers, your
Mhm.
girlfriends. Know what's going on up in here.
So many opinions, not enough help, and I think the biggest thing is that they say it takes a village, and I do believe
Okay.
that that is true. But a village is more than um talking, and opinions. It's more like help. And I actually had to, me and my mother had this conversation the other day because I was correcting my daughter. She had left her pocketbook in the classroom and they had locked the doors and all of that. And I was outside waiting and she didn't come outside and tell me. So I kind of was worried. I had to go into school looking for her. And I'm on the phone with my mother the whole time. And, I'm in there correcting her. And like, how did you leave your pocketbook? Like, what were you? Most of the time she's talking to her friends and all of that and got distracted. So I'm telling her, like, like you could have came and told me at the car so I wouldn't be worried. Da, da, da. My mother's like, well, no, no, no. You don't have, and I had to tell my mom, like, listen, you have to understand that what worked for you or the empathy and the, whatever you feel, because that's your grandchild. Now you're looking on the outside, looking in, and you can tell me how to do it. Don't forget how, if I lost a bow rat at school, it was over.
Okay. You in trouble.
Yes.
So
You
just,
in big
I
trouble.
think it's a lot, like they have opinions and they want to teach you how to do it, but it's like, listen here, like we got, I try to explain it to her because my mother is, her anxiety about the kids' feelings and all of that gets high. So I try to explain nicely to her, like, hey, I'm doing this, and unless you want to come and pick her up every day at 3:25 and wait 20
That
minutes
part. That part. Yeah,
until
that
she
part.
find her pocketbook once a week, you know. I need you to go ahead and stay on the other end of this phone.
Stay over there. Yes, I agree with that. 100%. Me and my mom stay going back and forth about that. We was, like you said, going back and forth about it today. So I get it.
Man. So, all right. I appreciate you guys. And you guys went right on through and answered the next question, adding in with, how it ends up manifesting in a day-to-day life for moms. Because that was going to be the next question. And you guys definitely pulled that out the bag because that's what happens for most, for some, maybe for all. We don't know till they
Yeah.
come and share with us, but you're not by yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're not by yourself. And before I had my time of being a homeschool mom, listen, I had to pay for drivers to make sure that they got my baby to school. And I couldn't be in that car. I had to go to work. I couldn't be in there to ride to school with her and be there to walk her in the doors every day. Sometimes I could,
Like you
sometimes
see
I
on the
couldn't.
TV.
So,
Yeah.
Because wouldn't we all like to do
okay.
that? Like I would love to be able to, take my daughter to school and walk her to a class or whatever, walk her to pack her lunch every day. And, all of that stuff sounds nice. But for a working single
Mhm.
mom, it's not, even if you're not, honestly, even if you're not a single mom, because a lot of people think it's just for single mothers, but it's really not. you know just for a mom that even if you are not working, being able to dedicate 24/7 of your time is not gonna it's not possible. It's just like, unless you and the people who have done it, who have done 25/8, our grandparents and great grandparents, who all they did was take care of the house, was stressed. Like, and unfortunately, in
Mhm.
today's society, we don't have that option. Would I have liked to keep, my husband and my family together? Sure. But it's not always possible. So you got to make do with what you got. That's just how it happens.
Yeah. Fine.
Mhm. Mhm. And like you said, even not for single moms, because it's two of us over here.
And it
It's
still
two
get
of us over
hard.
here, and It'll hurt sometimes when we both know at the same time.
Yeah.
Shoot, like, come on.
Yeah.
So,
And you know,
mm-mm-mm.
my ex is
Okay.
still, I still co-parent with him, and um even then it gets hard, when we don't live in the same household, and at the end of the day, you are the main person in that household. And so when nobody can make it or somebody got to work late, mom's got to figure it out at the end of the day. It's just, we are the go-to second planners.
Mhm.
Listen, the word co-parenting right now is so
Triggered you just now.
triggering because I'm telling you, like, I am in a situation, you know what I mean, right now with my daughter and her dad, and she's 14. And I made a post yesterday. It says, the co and co parenting stands for more than monthly child support and weekend visitations. It stands for communicating, connecting, contributing continuously.
Consistently. You forgot that.
Consistently.
Okay.
Okay? I'm gonna add that back. I'm gonna add that on there. I was looking for code words all day. Cooperation. One of my homeboys sent me, he was like, accountability.
All of it. Anything with a CO. Put it in there. Like, what?
I'm telling you, because co-parenting, I don't know, at some point my daughter's father, and all ignorant guys think like this. When they get a certain age and get a phone, I don't gotta talk to the mother. It's like, do you realize that in order to even get your daughter to come outside, you have to get permission from me? So I'm not trying to like establish this control. I'm just trying to show you the value of us having a healthy communication. That's the value in it, because your child, she or he sees this and they mimic that in their relationships, no matter whether it's romantic, whether it's, a friendship, whatever it is, they will lack
Yeah.
that healthy
Mhm.
communication skill. You know what I mean? And I gotta fight against that. You over there acting like a
Mhm.
what you are, and I'm over here trying to grow from who I once was for whatever reason why I chose you. So as I'm sitting here trying to outgrow that, you're still maintaining that same
Mentality.
immature mentality. Like, come on, it takes more than just
Mhm.
calling your daughter or picking up a pair of shoes here and there to
And
co-parent.
that really contributes to mommy guilt too, because we feel like we gotta, you know, do better,
Mhm.
do more. We gotta then go further than we really want to,
Yeah.
honestly.
Then we
Because
than we can physically.
Because no, I mean, when I say
Mhm.
co-parenting, I mean with my ex, but that's not either one of my kids' father. That is just a man that's been around my kids for the last 7 years, and I actually co-parent with him.
Right.
But their actual fathers, I cannot. And my daughter's father is actually very much the same. She is 10, and he feels like he does not have to communicate with me.
Mhm.
He doesn't even respond to text messages at this point. I send messages, and I'm sure he gets them, and he just follows suit with whatever I said. But he doesn't respond. He doesn't reach out. He doesn't help with but he deals strictly with her. If she say, "Daddy, can you buy me lunch today?" He door dashes lunch. If she say, like any whatever she wants. But as far as like taking
Mhm.
care of her, no, that doesn't happen. And so having I had to really, and I learned this with my son's father. He is 16, and that man is non-existent. I promise you, if I seen him on the street, he could be on fire. I probably wouldn't even notice. It's just it's just the way it is, but I had to learn with him to really just
Mhm.
let it
Mhm.
go.
Yeah.
I had to really let go of that control. And I also, it took until I got with my ex to really decide to stop trying to control it. Stop trying to force the communication, stop trying
Yeah.
to force the co-parenting, because
Mm-hmm.
it just makes it worse.
Yeah.
And it makes it worse on me as a mom because, prime example, if we have a Christmas list that our daughter sends to both of us, and I say I'm getting this, and you say you're getting that, and then you don't get it, now as a mom, 2 days, 3 days before
You
Christmas,
gotta go out and get
I
it.
feel like I gotta run around like a chicken with my head cut off because God forbid she don't have what's on her list. All of that contributes to being
Mm-hmm.
a mom, because we
Mm-hmm.
feel like we got to pick up that slack. And now I'm fussing at you to show you that you need to do X, Y, and Z. It's just a lot.
Yeah.
It's way too much.
Yeah.
That is the day-to-day life of a single parent, even in a household, because me and my ex didn't always see eye to eye. We didn't always see eye to eye when it came to co-parenting, especially because I'm more lenient and he's more of a, I call him a tyrant, but they scared of him. He think it's respect. So, whatever works for them, like I just be like, all right, but like he is like cutthroat. This is it. Like he could walk in the room and blink and everybody just shut up. So but and I'm more like lenient and I allow the kids to talk and express themselves and so we don't always see eye to eye. So even living in that same household, when you are arguing, I think the biggest thing for me and my ex right now is when we are not on good terms, on speaking terms, we still have to be able to co-parent for the children's sake, which I think is really good of him considering they're not his biological kids,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? But it's still hard regardless. And as a mom, if we not speaking now, and I feel like I'm just gonna go do everything by myself because I don't need nobody, and it just, being that mom and, having to carry that burden alone, even when you have people, feeling like you gotta do
Yep.
it alone because I ain't got to deal with this. Is a thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It really is. And then to
Mm-hmm.
piggyback on that, like the guilt that you feel for what they're not doing, but to dig deeper to go even deeper than that guilt, and to go into the guilt that you feel for choosing them as the father in the first place. You know what I mean? For where you were in your life at
Mm.
that when you decided to open up yourself to somebody that you probably knew back then didn't deserve you, but you weren't strong enough emotionally
Like
and
that.
mentally to make a decision. So that guilt that you feel is so much more internal, and it's like a hurt, a deep guilt and hurt you
Mm.
feel to the obligation that you have to your child.
Yes. And I'm telling you, listen,
Mm-hmm.
my son is
Mm-hmm.
16 and I just sent him away to military school. And I think the biggest problem for me was that guilt because I knew when I was pregnant, when I found out I was pregnant, his father was not going to be able, I mean, the whole time during my pregnancy, early on he couldn't keep a job, he couldn't, he was still partying, doing all, and I was pregnant working two jobs, so I think as my son I tried to give him the world and he lacked that discipline from me because I was so busy trying to fill the void of a missing father, and not only is it the guilt from, oh, he's not here, but now it's the guilt of, I knew he wasn't going to be here, so, but then when my ex came around, by that time my son was
Mm-hmm.
9, and he had already developed, his own personality, his own everything. It made it that much harder for my ex to kind of come in and take over. Whereas my daughter was 2, so she was still young.
That's her father.
That's her father, but my son was already older, and so
Mm-hmm.
by the time at 16, I struggle a lot with releasing that guilt and that control, because in my mind, it was me and him against the world. No matter who was around, no matter who came, it was always me and my son against the world. And I'm going to make sure I protect him. But that was that guilt that I had. Sending him away to military school, I'm telling you, child, I cried, 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 cried all the way up to Aberdeen. Okay. I was in tears, going, coming back. But it was the best thing for him. And, my ex forced me to do that. um, and that's one of the good things about co-parenting with somebody. But when you know that that biological father
Mm-hmm.
is not around, as a mom, you're going to try to do both. I tried to, he had the biggest Christmases, the biggest birthdays, the biggest all of this. He rarely got in trouble. Anything he asked for, he wanted. And meanwhile, he was struggling. And I was so busy trying to fill the void in sports, putting him in this, putting him in that, getting him therapists, when none of that was working because he wanted his father.
He wanted to know why his father didn't want him.
Exactly. Even till today, at
Mm-hmm.
16, I promise you, that's one of his biggest things. His father is his kryptonite. And that's something that, my ex said, that's something that he's going to have to work out within himself.
Yeah.
And, your guilt on that is not going to change how he feels about it. You
Nope.
can't you can't buy him, a dad. It's just, it is what it is. But as a mom, you feel that deep down inside, because one, you want to protect your
Yeah.
child. Two, you know, you are, especially when you're an active parent, you're gonna feel guilty.
Yeah. Absolutely, and it doesn't change,
Mm-hmm.
after they get older,
Mm-hmm.
because my daughter's dad, I'm close with his older children, and my daughter, they call her the golden child, as the one child that they still, that the father tries to,
That's my daughter.
have a relationship with. But the reality of it is, he's not doing anything different with her than he was doing with any of them. She just hasn't got to the age where she's just getting to the age now where she understands. She sees him. She knows a zebra is a zebra. A zebra has black and white stripes, and she can see it with her own eyes. And so now,
Okay.
and listening to his older kids, his daughter, who's like 25, she says, I got daddy issues. She was like, him not being there for me is showing up. That is showing how it makes her feel, is showing up in every relationship in her life. She said in her romantic relationship, in her friendships, she's like, her lack of a relationship with her father has led to her not knowing how to communicate in a healthy way with other people. And she says she's yearning for a healthy relationship with him. Like she speaks like, I wish I could have a relationship with him. But one of the things that a lot of guys don't understand is that your children want to know that you will fight for them no matter, even if they reject you. Because she's like, like, yeah, he might call a couple of
Right.
times and I don't answer, and then he'll
Yeah.
then he'll stop calling. He might call and I don't agree with what he says, and then he won't call no more. But she's like, she wants him to fight for her. And when a
And that
child
really,
feels like you're not gonna fight for them, you know what I mean, and you don't want
Show me
them,
that I mean something to you.
show me that I mean something to you. Even
Yeah.
if you have to take a little bit of hurt and rejection that I'm giving you, because I
and
don't
what
know
they
how to,
don't understand
they don't get
is
it.
that, yeah, well, and what they don't understand is that then that thing carries over to how
Over.
they raise their children,
Yes.
and the men that they choose to raise their children.
Yes.
And it's a continuous cycle. I don't think we can ever break out of
Mm-hmm.
societal norms until we break out of the mentalities that we have. And yes, as women, we are held accountable for the men we choose. But we also have trauma, just like men have trauma.
No
Right.
doubt.
And the same exact thing with my daughter's father. He has older kids that he has no contact with. And, my daughter is looked at as the lucky one. Everybody always says,
Right.
oh, he stayed around her the longest, but they have no idea, number one, what the struggle is to keep that man around, just to be able to force myself to try and communicate.
All the
They don't
trying,
have
all the trying that we're doing,
to make it
we're
happen.
really the ones fostering the relationship.
Yep. And so what they don't understand is, as men, when you decide that you don't want to be a part of your child's life, male or female, and then they go off and they have kids, but especially the
Mm-hmm.
girls, we feel like we then are responsible to do better than what our father or even mother did. That alone creates the mommy guilt. Because now, you feel like you got to take on everything and do it completely different than what your parents did because my dad wasn't around. I'm going to make sure I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and E. And then you leave out the other parts. Like a lot of fathers think child support or giving money is the way to show up because growing up they watch their mother struggle.
Yep.
So they give money, but they don't give time, and they leave those mothers to then bear the emotional and physical raising of that child. And of course, we're going to do it because who else is going to do it? But they don't understand the generational pain that it really causes,
They
and
don't.
specifically on mothers. And
Yeah.
I think it's
And I
so
feel like too. hmm, Sorry, I thought you were stopping, but I wanted to say that I feel like when it comes to the children, we always think that if the dads aren't around or if we don't allow them in their lives, that they're really going to be messed up, like everything is going to be ruined or what have you. Okay.
yeah.
And I feel like that's a condition that really needs to be broken so the cycle can change, if that makes sense. Because
Yes, it
even for
does.
me, I'm a lesbian and my daughter definitely has a dad. Did I think he was going to be there when I had my daughter? Of course I did. We had a great relationship before her. We weren't boyfriend and girlfriend. Yes, fine and dandy, but we had a great relationship. And that changed as soon as the baby came in the picture. That was unexpected for me. Now, as you said before, it takes a village to raise a child. So I started to create my own village, right? Was that village actually safe for my child? No. So I had to really think about the emotions that my child was going to have to go through consistently if I kept that going on to beg the dad to come to take her to Wendy's and go to the convenience store for 20 minutes. If that's what I continuously wanted, or every other year he would come and take her to the park for 30 minutes and then bring her back home with some McDonald's, which I don't even feed her.
Exactly.
So it was just things that I had to break off. And did I feel guilty? Yes, because society says that a daughter or a son and whatever have you, whatever
Always need dad.
gender the child is, needs that father in their life to be successful or have the abundance that they deserve, right? I don't agree with that. I feel like if you don't want to be there, then I'm not going to force you to be there, right? Because I'm going to make sure that I do what I have to do to show her what's different around here.
Yep.
Yep.
That was the biggest thing for me as a mom. So then I just let the guilt go because at the end of the day, I'm the 24/7 parent.
Yep.
Y'all just back up. I'm in control of everything.
And honestly, no matter how
So
much
I
you
broke
try,
free from doing what everybody felt was needed for them.
and honestly, no matter how much you try to make that parent be a parent, if they don't want to be a parent, sometimes it causes more damage and you feel more guilt because my son is 16 and I remember at 3 me dropping him off on his father's doorstep, like, you gonna take him because I gotta go to work, and this is your child too, and us going back and forth. I remember it so clearly.
Mhm.
Me and his girlfriend at the time used to have to co-parent together, to force him to be a part of his son's life. And it got to the point where I just stopped,
Yep.
and the only thing that I struggle with,
Mm-hmm.
Tia, is that thought. I think I still struggle with the idea that, or maybe not now, but I did for so long struggle with the idea that he needed his father in order to be successful. He needed to have that male,
Mhm.
and I think by creating that, by
Mhm.
forcing his father in his life, or by allowing him to be in and out so much, I honestly feel like that's what really created this void that he
Mhm.
has.
Yep.
Because he had men around, you know,
Mhm.
and I'm a firm believer in you can't miss what you never had, right?
Mhm.
So if I wasn't so busy forcing
Right.
him onto his father, or allowing him to be in and out, at once a year you come around, like you said, come around to get him, or you buy him a toy and show up, and then Christmas, birthdays you miss. Those are traumatizing to
Mhm.
kids that are expecting that parent to
Yep.
show up. And instead of
Mm.
us listening to society saying you got to make it work, you got to co-parent, you got to do this, because my mother was famous for that. You can't tell him no, you can't tell him he can't come. And I was boggled down with that. But now at 16, I see how my son relies so
Mm.
much on that relationship. And not only does he rely on it, when it doesn't happen, he makes
Mhm.
excuses, or sometimes blames me or himself for why it's not happening. It just creates more trauma. You know what I mean? And then as a mom, I'm still feeling like
Yeah.
16 years later, I got to pick up the pieces, and make it better. And it's like, have we,
Mhm.
like you said,
Mhm.
have we broken away from that norm of they need no, what they need is a parent that wants to be in their life.
Yep.
Like, other than that,
Yeah.
it's gonna cause more
Yeah.
damage.
Right.
Mhm. And I had to learn that the hard way, of my daughter running down the Waldorf streets of Maryland by herself while I'm in Virginia. So if anybody knows the DMV area and how that sounds,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm that far away from my child, okay, and she's by herself. At the time, Anasia was 5.
Oh wow, yeah.
Do you know my heart was in my ass?
Mm-hmm. And
After
and
that, that was
honestly,
it for me.
yeah,
My
and
safety for
taking
my
away
daughter
that stress.
was only important to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yes. Yes. Because if not, I wouldn't have no hair. I cut my hair on my own. I didn't want to lose hair for that. And that was me really doing it to
Yeah.
myself at that point.
Yeah. Mm.
Shoot.
Listen. Sometimes, like
So
I was thinking the same. I
the
was
let
thinking,
go of it is a big deal.
yep. I was thinking the same thing when this Thanksgiving when my daughter went to Thanksgiving at her dad's house. She was at my mom's house with me, and I was hosting Thanksgiving, and I was cooking pretty much all the food at my mom's house. And she wanted to go, past her dad's house, and well, the aunt's house where her dad was. Mind you, they not really talking at the time, but I think she wanted to kind of go over there and kind of make peace. And one of their uncles had just passed away, so she really was just going to pay her respects. But
Mm-hmm.
she told me, like, Mom, I'm gonna take a friend with me. My best friend is gonna come with me, so it's
Mm-hmm.
no tension. But when she got there, it was already tension. She had an altercation with a couple family members, and they was picking on her. And you know how older cousins pick on you and bother you, and they was kind of doing that, and it irritated her. Long story short, it got back to me that my daughter was being disrespectful and this and that, and he really just made it a big thing. And instead of having a conversation with her about it, he texts me. Mind you, remember I told y'all he don't call, he doesn't text, he normally only contacts her. But he wanted to, reach out and text me and tell me about, how she's disrespectful and rude and this and that. And mind you, I know that's not my child. She goes to an academic high school. She's a great girl. Real. She has an innocent side to her. Of course, she has a little sassiness to her, but that's 14. That's what 14 looks like.
And honestly, if you knew your child, right, or if you knew parenting in general, then
Bingo.
you would know how to handle a 14-year-old. Or
Bingo.
at the end of the day, you're a child. You know what I mean?
Bingo.
Like, you
Yeah.
wouldn't have to call me to tell me. You would be able to handle
Handle the conversation.
your
Exactly.
child.
It just
What's going
stamped.
on?
It's stamped that at this time, at this day and age, she is no longer obligated to go nowhere around none of them. I'm like, if you don't want to never go with your dad again, I don't care. If you don't want to never call this man again, I don't
Mhm.
care. I had to catch myself because I was definitely about to call him out his name. What he
But
really
this is the thing, and that's another norm that we fight against, because then it makes us look like we're the problem, right? Because we say, oh, if you don't want to call him, if you don't want to call him, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. And then we look like we're the problem.
Yeah, we look like
But
the bad guy.
the real thing is, the real problem is that that father doesn't fight to be in that child's life, even when that child becomes difficult.
Yep.
And for that reason, my son went away to military school
Mhm.
in July. He went away July 15th. He was living with his father at the time, because we had some social service issues with him and my daughter. He has autism. So we decided to put him in military school because that living situation wasn't working. Um, he went away July 15th. His father answered the phone one time for him since he's been away. He's still away. And wrote him 0 letters. Now, I did my part as the parent. I sent him all the information here. He only calls home every 2 weeks, but you can write him also, just to let him know you're thinking about him, all of that. He didn't write him. He hasn't done anything. Um, he has this thing about guilt tripping my son, making him feel like, oh, I got so much going on. I'm doing blah, blah, blah. I wish I could be there for you. So
Same
when
thing.
he came home for the holidays, he had told my son, make sure you check your voicemails. I've been leaving you
Mm.
messages every day. And one of the messages was like, well, I'm going to be looked at as neglectful because I won't reach out to your mom and, get your information. And it's like, but I gave you the information already back in July, but those are the type of games that they
That they
play
play.
when they don't want the responsibility,
Yep.
because it's as simple as writing a letter, or you know
Mhm.
answering the phone. My son called him every 2 weeks when he got home, or texting me and say, hey Ty, this is my new number, please give this to our son, or whatever. But when he came home for Thanksgiving, he said, oh, he called his aunt and he said, if you talk to my father, tell him to call me. His father called and said, hey, maybe if y'all not doing nothing for Thanksgiving, you can come with me to see the family. Absolutely not. And I said it. Absolutely not. And won't.
And,
Because he been gone since July, and you didn't even reach out to him. Now you
Mm.
think you're about to take him around your family to showboat what a great child he is? Absolutely not. He hasn't been home in 4 months, and he's going to be with me,
Right.
the person that's been taking care of him
that's right.
and making sure he was okay for the last 4 months.
Mhm.
I don't understand it. And
What are
he
you
didn't
talking
even,
about?
like, I really didn't understand. My son knows my stance. And at one point, it was a
Where was
thing
his
because
mind at?
I don't, and my son didn't even ask. Honestly, my son already knew the answer, so he didn't even ask. But yeah, because
Right.
it's like, why do you think that you get that privilege? So that's where I'm at now with it. It's like you gonna see him when it's good for us, because we're tired of you seeing him when it's good for you. So, I can't, I might, at this age, my son knows his father, he knows
Mm-hmm.
what it is. But
Mm-hmm.
as a mom, I still feel like, I'm a little protective. And because I still have that guilt, I can only do what I can do now. And what you're not going to do is go showboat my wonderful 16-year-old off to your family like you done something special over here. That's what's not going to happen. He will not be a trophy son if I can help it until he get good and
Not at
grown
all.
and want to be.
Hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, okay, so let's go to topic number 2, right? Overcoming comparison and judgment. Hmm. How does comparing ourselves to other moms contribute to mommy guilt?
Mhm. Girl, I can just start with my mom. Like I said before, like I'm nowhere near the mom my mother was. I'm not even gonna lie. You know what I mean? So sometimes and like I said before, like my mom and my dad been married pretty much my whole life. You know, they got married when I was probably, I think I was like maybe 2. But all I've ever known is for them to be married. And so I have multiple times I've said to myself, like, I would have never thought that at 41, coming from a background of a mom and a dad and the typical, even my parents was in the military. I lived in Italy, I lived in New York, and we've traveled. All the things that I thought I would use to my advantage in order to be, living the traditional life. I didn't. I was the child who did everything different. My brother, he recently graduated with his degree. I went to college. I didn't finish school. My brother, he recently got married not too long ago. He got the house with the white picket fence. I got the house, but ain't no husband here. You know what I mean? Like I'm I'm doing this on my own, and I have I got 2 kids, 2 different baby fathers, you know what I mean? I had a baby and didn't go back to college, so all the things that, you would think that a woman who came from a traditional good background wouldn't do, I did, and so I sometimes struggle with the guilt that I feel from not providing my kids with the lifestyle or the household lifestyle that I live. Because my kids got more stuff than I ever had. Let me tell you something. With
That's
my
definitely
kids
true.
being in the same, even though I was in the same household with my parents, shopping on a regular basis. What are you talking
They
about?
did it on purpose. No, on purpose. We don't
Yeah,
even know
yeah.
that word.
My parents didn't even think, like my mom's answer to everything, whether she thought about it or not, was "We'll see." And me and my brother had developed an understanding
Mm-hmm.
that "we'll see" meant no. It just meant no. And I needed her to, unless she said yes, "we'll see" meant no.
Yeah.
So I grew up in that era, even though my parents, and when I first was growing up, they didn't have no money, but both my parents, they worked their way up in their field and they had money. You know what I mean? They definitely had money. They ended up having a nice house, nice jobs and whatnot. But I wasn't overly indulged in things because I wasn't overly exposed. So I had nice things, yes, but $1,000 tennis shoes,
Mm-hmm.
no.
Mm-hmm.
$500 bags, no. You know what I mean? $250 hairstyles every 2 months. Braids that only last 30 days. My mother, first of all, I had braids that
With
lasted
choke.
90 days. My mother could braid. So, baby, my braids, if she didn't do them and I went somewhere else randomly, like just as a privilege, because mostly my mother did every braid you could think of. She figured out how to do every braid. So if I went somewhere else and got it done, she would be like, "Girl, you ain't getting that hair done. Take out them first 2-3 rows.
And let's do this again.
I'll re-braid those, and we on month 3."
Yeah.
So the things that kids are getting now, because like you said, because of the mommy guilt we may feel, or because of the overexposure that they have access to in social media, in school and whatnot. It doesn't compare to what we were getting, but it still, leaves me feeling guilty about not providing them with the same style, lifestyle that my mom, provided me with. So I would definitely use that as a comparison.
Yeah, and for me, it was the exact opposite. Um, my mom, I grew up in an abusive household. My dad wasn't around. When I was 13, 12 or 13, I think I was 13, I wound up living with my great aunt who took me on. She was my foster. I used to call her my foster grandmother because she had a daughter who was, who I looked at as my mom. So from all my entire high school years, I lived with a whole new family. Like I had built my own little new family. Um, and my grandmother used to always say, you know, well, that's your mother. You only have one mother, so you need to make that relationship work. And although I try to make that relationship work, and I think I do for the most part, I don't look at it as a mother daughter relationship or like the traditional mother daughter relationship.
Yeah.
So for me, the comparison for so long was doing the exact opposite of whatever
Your
she
mom.
did. So I spent a lot of time trying to do everything completely different. And I can honestly say, maybe over the last year or two, I realized that in trying to do everything completely different, I ended up exactly like her in other areas of my life. Um, for example, the only time she ever said "I love you" was when we went to bed. It was a good night ritual, give you a hug and kiss, love you, good night, go to bed. That was the only time she would ever say "I love you." So I made sure I always shower my kids with affection. I wasn't allowed to talk. I wasn't allowed to express my feelings. I wasn't even allowed to journal. She found my journal one day and it was like, it's the devil, and threw it away. And I couldn't write a journal never again in life. So I allow my kids to fully express their self. Um, just anything you can think of. She was physically abusive, and my son is a different story. Okay, he didn't got his ass whipped a couple times, more than a few. Especially when my ex came into the picture. Just go ahead, deal with him because I don't even know. But so he's a different story. But even with him beating him, or uh, when he used to get like beatings with like a belt and stuff like that, it would hurt my heart. You know what I mean? Like, Lord, I used to go in the room like anxiety, like for real. And my daughter, she's just an angel. She doesn't the belt, so it does. I've never had to touch her. I barely raise my voice at her. She's very expressive, and I allow her to. The only time, now she's getting into that grown phase. So I gotta raise my voice a little bit more than normal. But I try to do everything completely different. Like, hitting is a last resort. We're gonna talk in this household. You're gonna express what sometimes my ex used to be upset because it's like, why are we asking them what they want for dinner? Like, why they not just eating what we make and that's it, or why they get to choose where they want to go at, to do ABC. Why we not just sending them? And I'm like, because it matters. But I spent so much time doing that,
That's
comparing myself to my mom on that end. that I realized that I missed a lot of other things for myself. So in turn, I I wound up
Okay.
feeling just as my mother, which I now know she suffers from anxiety and all types of things, and I wound up feeling just as burnt out trying to do everything opposite of her and focusing on that versus just focusing on being a parent. My goal was to make sure, I put them in every sport. My son was in everything you could think of,
Mm-hmm.
from basketball to karate to football to I mean everything. He did soccer, all of it, whatever you could think of. My daughter, she has dance. I pushed them at I wasn't ever allowed to be in after school activities. For one, my mother worked late, and then by the time I got in high school, she didn't want me after school hanging out with my friends. Like, it was that type of structure. So here I go, put your kids in everything. It burnt me out at an early age because I was steady trying to compare myself
Mm-hmm.
to what she was doing, and then my friends around me didn't have kids. um, Everybody went to college, and I went to community college,
Mm-hmm.
and I wound up having, my son, and I stopped going. Then when I went back, I worked two jobs and took care of him while I went to school full time. My life was different than all of my friends. When it was time to go out, I wasn't going out. I didn't celebrate my birthday like everybody normally did at 21 and all of that. Like, it wasn't none of that. And so it was kind of hard because then by the time my best friend had her daughter, um my son was about 4, 5, 6. I don't know. He was all, but I was just starting to kind of um, take a deep breath, and I was exhausted. And watching her be a mom, even now, our kids, her daughter is like a year older than mine. She takes her kids, I mean, they go on trips, they do little field trips. She's also a teacher. So, she does they go traveling for cheerleading. I mean, it's a whole to do. And sometimes watching that and me
Mm-hmm.
feeling so burnt out because I was doing all of this stuff way back when, now I'm too burnt out to do that. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
and my vacations are mine. Like, when I take a vacation, we've gone to Disney World or we might go to the beach or something like that. But when I went to Paris, I went alone. You hear me? When I went to Cancun, it was not with kids. When
No,
I went to Jamaica, like, I'm not take I have been a firm believer. I am a mom 24/7. When I go on a vacation, I bring that child back something. Do you hear me? She can have what you need, what you want from I'm going to Jamaica next week.
Okay.
What's your gift? What kind of gift you want from here? Because that's all I got for you. Like, I need, you know,
That's it.
that's all I got. That's
I'm
all I
with
got.
you. Listen, I'm with you on that because
You
when you
know
take
what?
kids on a vacation, you need a vacation from the vacation.
Please. And now they're older, so it's fine. But like when I used to take cruises, my son was like 2 or 3, and he had ADHD. At the time, we didn't really know he had autism, but we knew he was on the spectrum of some sort. My anxiety to put him on a boat, please, I wouldn't enjoy the trip at all. Like, no, we're not getting on this boat. Both of us can't get on the boat. Either you can get on the boat or I'm going to get on the boat. We ain't getting on here together.
No, we're not.
So, but stuff like that. And now that I'm really coming into my own and I'm healing all my own childhood traumas and all of that, I do enough as a parent. And that's what sometimes I think we compare ourselves. These parents that do take their kids on trips and they have a nanny or they do all these family things together. I know, at least for my best friend, she takes trips by herself, but they do a lot of traveling together as a family. And sometimes I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. But I have to realize that I'm enough for them as it is. I do enough as a mom as it is, that I deserve time when I
For
want
yourself.
time. Yeah, when I want to take my time, I deserve that time.
Yeah.
I don't have to take them on every vacation just because the next person do it. Or again, that's one of the things where society says, "Oh, you know, they need to go on vacation. They want to experience this, that." My child, the only experience past when I did at 31. Okay, thank you. 'Cause this is too much.
When
Like
you got a little bit of money to put up,
when you got on, you know how much Paris is, like what is going on, and
we can go
and the thing
together.
is, right, and the thing is, that was my dream, but when you have kids, you have all of a sudden you don't have dreams. All of a sudden you don't get to accomplish the things that you wanted to. Paris was a really big deal for me. I wanted to go before I was 30. I wanted to go by the time I turned 30. I went at 30 before I turned 31. But that was my dream. It wasn't their dream. Like this was something for me. So it's like, as parents, as moms, sometimes
Hmm.
once we become moms, it's sad. Even back in the day, you could have had a career. And when you become a mom, now the dads expect you to stop working, raise the kids, all of that. And even now, they don't necessarily expect you to stop working, but they still expect you to be a mom 25/8. Put your dreams on the back burner. Don't go, or you got a kid now, so probably can't go to school, probably can't do this. I wanted to be a journalist out of high school, but I got pregnant my first year of community college, and I couldn't be a journalist because you have to start off being an intern.
Intern.
So now I can't be an intern because I got a baby. So I need money.
Hmm.
Those are just one way of where we have to put our dreams on
Hmm.
hold. And while I'm watching everybody else around me live their life, I had to figure out how to be a single parent at 19. And now at 36, everybody is doing all of this mommy and me stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I had did that. That's good. Like, like I'm gonna go ahead. I'm going outside because this is stressful.
Mm-hmm. Facts.
Man, well,
It's the mommy guilt
I'm definitely one of those parents that take my baby with me, you know,
everywhere.
and
Everywhere.
I was feeling guilty when I didn't take her with. My baby is everywhere with me. She right there with that nanny. I'm still going out to go have,
To the
hmm
Caribbean
and I'm
club.
gonna be back when I'm done. hmm And that's that.
Hurry.
Period.
That's
Because you
it.
have to find a
Carla, I
way,
have
and
a
you got
quick
to figure
question
out
for
how
you
it's gonna
too.
work for you. Like, you have to figure it out. And what would happen if we just
Mm-hmm.
decided we can't do nothing? Like, golly, like I mean, I don't know where I would be right now today. My son is 16. I mean, I've been a parent for almost 17 years. I don't know where I would be if I just decided that I could do nothing else but be a parent
Yep.
forever until they were grown. Like, I
Right,
wouldn't be able to survive,
right.
even if I had to take them, because there's
I
been
be
times like
stuck
when
in
we went to,
still.
I mean, Lord, I mean, like we went to Florida, we went to, when me and my ex first got together, we used to go. We were famous for like going to the beaches and stuff like that. I took my daughter to Disney World one year, and her little 4-year-old self was not impressed. Okay, you know how much Disney World costs? I think that's when I decided that I was now tripping alone because
You about to not appreciate all this Disney World money I done
I
spent.
think it was like $300 a person to get in that daggone park or wherever it was. And she was not impressed, honey, and did not want to walk. She did not want to do nothing. And that's when I realized that it's us. It's us who
Oh,
have that
nothing.
that guilt of we gotta make sure that we do everything for our kids. But when that child was like, I'm ready to go 20 minutes into Disney World, honey, I was like, oh, this will be it. Now for her, what was it? She turned 10 this year. So for her ninth birthday, she loves the water. For her ninth birthday, I took her um, to Miami Beach, and she loves art. They have an art district there.
Mm-hmm.
So I took her to her and one of her friends. I
Mm-hmm.
took them to Miami. She stayed on the water. We went to the art district. She lived in the water for 4 days, and we came back home. Like that was a trip for her. And so I don't mind doing it, but when it's for her,
Mm-hmm.
my
Yeah.
trips are
Mm-hmm.
for me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's what I think we have to differentiate is you don't have to feel guilty because you're not doing it the way everybody else is doing it. Because people would think they see me, I'm always, and that people say, I travel all the
Mm-hmm.
time. Like, I be gone. Okay. I will get up for a weekend and just decide I'm out of here. But, I do things with them, but I just don't do them the way that everybody else
Does
does them. And
that's
it
right.
took me a long time to decide that I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to.
Yeah, and
Because
that.
that guilt that wears on you when you don't,
Yeah.
when you see everybody else kids on the Disney cruise and, all dressed up in matching family outfits, and all that, it gets crazy.
Yeah.
Man. So, Carla, my question for you is if this is your first time being on the podcast, what does Torch Mom mean to you?
So I think when you think about the term torch, I'm sure it probably has specific acronyms that it stands for. But when I think about torch, I think about you know something lit. Okay, something lit, and it's a light, a flame. You know what I mean? And when you think about you put the two words together, torch mom, you know what I mean? A mother that is on fire, you know what I mean? On fire for her kids, on fire for, whatever it is that she's passionate about. But more in particular, just being excited and being ignited about motherhood, about being the best version of yourself so you can be a torch mom, so you can be lit, so you can be the light in your children's lives, and so you can even be the light in other women's lives, like we're sharing with each other right now, the light and the love. I mean, this a lituation right here. You know what I
This
mean?
is a situation.
So to me, that torch represents just it's like a community. You know what I mean, of women, a safe space for women who consider themselves to be on fire. For motherhood.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And with that being said, we're going to move into this next topic, okay, of
Okay,
self
there you
care
go.
and prioritizing needs.
Baby,
Now, that's my favorite subject is self care.
honey, I got
That's
that
my
thing
that's
right
my
there.
shiz naives right there. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Self care is so
Tell me,
important. Self care is so important for
yes.
real. Like that.
So
Sorry.
it's a big deal. It's a big
Yes,
deal.
it is.
So do you guys feel that it's okay for moms to prioritize their own needs, and then why or why not without the side of society in place? I don't want you to answer this question with society being in your brain cells. I want you to answer this question as yourself, the mom that you are. Do you feel that it's okay for you to prioritize your own needs? Why or why not?
Yeah. I mean, I think so. And I think like Ty kind of tapped into that topic when she talked about, going out of town, and finding times for herself without feeling guilty about it, and really just, understanding that she needs that, what I mean, in order to, keep going. And for me, it's the same way. Like self-care, I don't play with my self-care. I might wake up one day and just be at King Spa. You know what I mean? I don't care what else I had going on. I don't care. My mental comes first. I might wake up one day and just go do some retail therapy. I done took the money that I said I was gonna get to my daughter for getting her nails done Friday, and now I done bought me a pair of shoes. You know what I mean? Like,
It
I'm
just
sorry.
is
Like,
what it
yeah,
is.
one of the reasons why I know that self-care, I think the reason why I'm so comfortable doing it is because I've been an entrepreneur for 12, 13 years now, right? And that has been so trying. Okay. It has had its ups, its downs, its roller coasters. And I've been doing this full time. So in the beginning, I was pushing myself. I never even took time to look up. And when I looked up, 5, 6 years done went by, and my shoulders tight. I ain't had a massage in 4 years. I ain't done nothing for myself. I ain't been out of town. And so I just decided,
Seven.
yeah, nothing. So I decided, like, listen, self-care is going to be a part of my weekly regimen. And even if it's something as simple as lighting my Libra candle and drinking my Wawa tea. And this is actually some tea that I made for myself. You know what I mean? But those little things, something as little as a candlelight bubble bath to something as big as getting flued out.
Please, I fly myself out in a heartbeat. You hear
I mean,
me?
yes, and even if it's myself flying myself out, you know what I mean. It's better when you're getting flued out,
It
but
is.
but the point of the matter is, you gotta do what you gotta do for you, and sometimes it takes a minute before it like clicks that you cannot be the best mom to your children if you're not being the best woman to yourself. So
You
yeah,
know how long it took me to
Mhm.
realize that I
Mhm.
cannot be a good mom until I'm a good person.
that's right.
And it took me up until 2 years or a year ago. It feels like longer because once I got it down pat. I want to say in 20, well, I guess I started in 2021 when me and my ex officially broke up and moved out of the house and all of that happened. I had devoted, and I talked to Tia about this before, I had devoted so much time into being a mom, into being a girlfriend, and it all fell apart.
Mhm.
You know, my son was failing at
Mhm.
school, at everything. There was situations with him and my daughter. I didn't know what was going on with him. Social services got involved. It was, my relationship was, in my mind, over. And while I had tried to maintain control and only do all of that, I had lost it anyway. So it's like then when you lose everything that you worked on and you don't
Mhm.
have yourself, then you feel like you have nothing. And it took me a while to build up. It started with my first trip by myself was to Miami, and it was because my ex had went for his birthday. Some girl flew him out to Chicago, and they had like a great old time. And I was like, "What?" You know, you know, I was destroyed, but I was determined. Like, oh, ain't no way, I'm gonna have to outdo that. And I flew myself to Miami, and 2.2 weeks later, honey, I
Right.
was gone. Our birthdays are a month apart. And so I might not did it for the right reasons, but that's what kicked it off
Mhm.
for me. I took that trip, and honestly, a part of the trip I was sad. I was like crying. I was sad. I wish that I
Mhm.
had him with me and all of that. But what I realized is that I can do this. Like, That's what self-care is for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's realizing that you got this. Because everything that you want somebody to do for you, you can literally do for yourself. And from that moment
Mm.
on, I've taken trips alone. I just went for my friend's wedding. Uh, I was speaking. I write poems and things like that also. So I had wrote a poem that I was speaking at her wedding, and me and my ex were supposed to go together, but at this particular time we wasn't speaking. This was just a couple months ago, and I went by myself. 2 years ago, I would have never. I'd have told her, "Sorry, ma'am, I can't speak at the wedding. I'm not coming." I'd have forfeited that $2,000 that was for Jamaica, because that's just how deep I felt about not being alone, not being comfortable with myself. But 2 years later, I hopped on
Mm-hmm.
that plane and I enjoyed 5 days in Jamaica.
That's right.
Because what? You know what I mean? Like, and it was hard. When we got there, his name, it was on everything. And, like they have like the little table placements and his name's on it. So it was hard for that. But at the end of the day, once you realize that all you got is you, and if you don't pour into you, you cannot pour into anybody else, you will start making it a priority to
Yep.
take care of you first. And the only way I had to learn that was to hit
Mm-hmm.
rock bottom, for everything and everybody to go away, to disappear, for the kids to be all out of whack, for the relationship to be out of whack. And that's all I had ever lived for. And then I started realizing, Ty, you got to live for you. When I got that in my mind, oh, I was upset. Well, it doesn't mean that the stuff doesn't still hurt. But what I always like to tell people is, we live a life, life in general is hard. It just depends on what hard is to you. So we live this life, we build up all this pressure
Yeah.
inside of us. And if you don't have an outlet to release some of that pressure, you're going to explode.
Worse.
And so, right after I took that trip to Miami, I started going out all the time, partying. Again, might not been for right reasons, but for me, I was releasing. I was releasing a lot of stress. I was doing what I wanted to do in that moment, right, wrong, or indifferent to anybody else. Of course, my kids were still taken care of, and I made sure I did my due diligence with everything. But I went out all the time. I travel all the time. I was like, yeah, I'm out of here. Like, what I started doing was giving life, giving all my
Mm-hmm.
responsibilities my bare minimum, and giving myself the maximum. Now I have kind of balanced it out because I had to go through that phase. So, and I'm also more focused on what I want more. So for me, building my business is self care. Speaking to women, teaching, helping, all of that is self care for me. I do still go out, once or twice a week, just to go out to eat and drink and listen to music. And I still travel when I want to, but it's not as important as it was for me back then. Right back then, I had a lot of pressure to release, and I released it. Now it's a balance, but I still put myself
Mm-hmm.
first. I still will make sure that, yes, my kids are taken care of, but I think about myself before I say, can I commit to my daughter doing 5 days a week in dance? Do I really feel like that type of commitment? Like, I consider myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's self care too. Not just doing things, but actually stepping back and saying, do you really want to commit to this? Are they gonna die if you don't commit to it? Because sometimes as parents we just do.
Mm-hmm.
We just go. And my son is in military school in Aberdeen, but he's only 16. So when he comes home with his GED, I have to be prepared. So for me, my thought before I sent him to military school was, are you really gonna wanna do all that's gonna take to put him back on the right track when he come home? Are you gonna wanna, deal with your daughter and your son possibly in two different households? All of that was a factor for me. And so for me, self-care is not only taking a trip or having a glass of wine or
Yeah.
any of that. Like I right now we're moving into a house and I refuse to move into anything less than a 4 bedroom or a 3 bedroom with a finished basement because I need an altar. I need an office. I need a space that's just for me. And like I said, it's not always going out
Mm-hmm.
or traveling or taking a bubble bath. Sometimes it's just saying, hey, what do you want first? Because these kids, they going to go with, and I had to learn it too. Your kids going to go with whatever you
Yes.
going with. Like they're gonna flow with you because they are yours. My kids are
Mm-hmm.
so adaptable. They have never lacked for anything. They have
Mm-hmm.
never wanted for anything. And anything I do, they have never suffered. But once I started considering myself, yeah, when I was taking my trips, my daughter would be like, "You leaving again?" Yes, and you can FaceTime me.
Yeah, you'll see me.
So it's just, now it's more so of a routine to where now she knows. Did she die? Absolutely not. Now she knows when I tell her I'm taking a trip or hey, tonight's mommy night to go out. Call me if you need me. Most of the time she on her way to bed anyway, but if you need me, I'll be around the corner at the restaurant getting some food, whatever. Sometimes she have it. Well, you ain't buy me no dinner today, so now I have this thing where when I want to go out, I make sure I buy her favorite meal so she have her favorite thing, and then I'm gonna see you. All right, But I think self care is really about prioritizing yourself. So and thinking about you first. So when you ask, like, well, should we do that ahead of everybody else? Absolutely, because you're the one that has to give, give, give,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't have anything to give, it's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
Maybe not today, but you're gonna look up and them kids gonna be 10, 12, 15, and you gonna be tired, boss.
Real sad.
Mm-hmm. You'll need a several naps. Several naps. Look, so I'm gonna jump into our next topic, our final topic, and it's with the challenging traditional gender roles. We spoke about it a little bit at the beginning, but I like to ask questions that I feel like ain't nobody gonna ask, you know?
Mhm.
So while witnessing societal shifts like stay at home dads, same sex parents, or non binary parents, along with traditional gender roles, how do they impact mommy guilt? Give me one reason from each of you. One.
Mm.
I mean, you know what? For me, I really think the biggest thing that is affected by all of these non-traditional gender roles is the perception that your kids receive. When we were growing up, we didn't have so much exposure to different things. Um, you know, it was man, woman,
Mhm.
and everything else was kind of shunned or not thought of, or it was kept a secret. So, or even social media wasn't a thing. So you didn't have to worry about your kids seeing all of these different things. And I know for me, I felt like, especially with my son, not so much with my daughter now, but because My son he was influenced by so much. He went through a lot just by watching non-traditional households, like, or having friends that had non-traditional households, or uh, kids that were allowed to be them, what is it, them, they, or whatever, and parents that were same sex, and all of
Non-binary.
the societal uh norms that are now, him trying to figure out, it took a lot for him to try to figure out now who he is, what his household was supposed to be, or what that meant for him, or how he had to fit in with his friends. And that was a big challenge for me, because at one point I had to decide um if I was going to be okay with him wanting to be gay, wanting to experience different things that he had seen in his friends' households, and or asking questions and bringing that type of thing back home. And I struggle with it because obviously I wasn't raised that way. My household isn't that way. And when it's brought to your front door, you always say, like, when it's over there, it's fine, right? Then when it come over here, it's like, oh, I got to deal with that right here, like right now. So it took a lot, but because I was always an advocate for my kids being able to express themselves, I really had to try hard to take myself out of the equation
Yep.
and do what I felt like or support them in what I felt like they wanted to try or do or be. And that gets hard because in your mind, you have an idea for how you think this is going to go as a parent. And then sometimes you try to force that mentality onto them. And then when they don't take well to it, or in my son's situation, he kind of felt like we didn't accept all the things that he wanted to try, or all his friends, and he, oh well, my friend whoever, he has two dads, and it influences them about what they then want to do. So I had to learn to accept it, and it was hard because at first I didn't want to, just because, again, of that societal norm of raising a straight male
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that he's successful. He has a girlfriend that he's going to prom with. He's going to grow up, go to college, get married, have babies, and that is the successful life, right? But when you have all of these other um, ideas and values and lifestyles in the mix, now you got to shape your reality. And I struggled with that for a long time because I didn't want to be looked at as a failure, or I felt guilty because um
Right.
you know I felt like I failed him when he decided he wanted to be gay, because I knew what would come with that. People would tease him, or just the lifestyle it would bring a harder lifestyle in my mind for him. So now I feel like I gotta fight against it. But in reality, the more I fought against it, the more he wanted to do it. So now I'm pushing back and forth with both ways. So when I decided to finally just say, listen, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. You know, he's gonna be your son regardless, and we're gonna deal with it as it comes. But it took a lot of strength, and it took a couple years, all for him to decide that he don't want to be gay, and now he got a girlfriend, and now I feel like I just, I went through all that stress for nothing. But whatever. Kids move, they do all of these things, they change their mind, and it's just the way society is now. But people don't say it because they're ashamed to say it, right? They're ashamed to say that they are scared to embrace a gay society or non-binary and things like that. They are afraid to say that they wouldn't accept their child. But in the back of people's mind, they make fun of gay males. They make fun of those same sex households and those
Mm-hmm.
they them, and all they make fun of those people, and then it's like, oh well,
Mm-hmm.
see each his own, to kind of smooth it out. You know what I mean? But as a parent, that's something real that you have to
Right.
really decide to accept about your child, when you have been taught, like I said, to raise either a straight male to be this alpha male, or this feminine female who's going to grow up and get married to a good man, and
Hmm.
go to college and have her babies. And what happens when she wants to be a male, or when she doesn't want to be identified as that at all, because her friends over here, they grew up not having to worry about that. It's just hard, and especially when not only is society trying to still keep it mainstream and traditional, but then those that are non-binary, those that are gay, or those that do have different beliefs, they are fighting for that space. So if you say anything out of the ordinary, out of that space, now you got to fight against the traditions, and you got to fight against the people that, that you're speaking out, quote unquote, against. And as a parent, you only want what's best for your child. So it gets sticky. My daughter doesn't have those issues, but even with her, sometimes, like, she likes wearing oversized clothes. She's not really that feminine. She hates earrings, and you know she has her own style. And sometimes I find myself having to pull back, because I'm like, go put some earrings on, or wear your
Mm-hmm.
hair like this, or do what and I have to fight against that, because she's seeing so many different traditions and lifestyles, and they are only trying to find, they're overloaded, so they're just trying to find their own way. And we didn't have that.
Yep.
We just were taught to be a girl or be a boy. That's it. It wasn't no extra
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So in our mind, we don't comprehend it, but in their mind, this is what they were taught. This is the lifestyle that they are growing up in. So it kind of gets sticky, but
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I, I I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. All I
It
know is
definitely gets sticky.
it gets sticky. But all I know is my kids gonna be my kids, and anybody gonna play with them,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be a problem. That's it. That's all I know.
Carla, what's your take on these societal shifts that's been witnessed?
I mean, the shifts that's taking place in society, especially as it relates to, you know, all of the sexuality or anything that's happening. A lot of it comes from, like exposure. You know what I mean? There's so many platforms for children and parents and everybody to be preview to a lot more information, whether that be good, whether it be bad. And for me, one of the things that I struggle with, because I dated women, in my high school and college. One of the things that I struggled with was trying to wanted to make sure that I didn't influence my children in any way outside of what they wanted to do. You know what I mean? I didn't want necessarily my sexual preferences to influence them without them developing their own thoughts, their own character, their own personality. And so I think in some instances I may have, I don't want to say neglected my own heart, or, things that I may have just stopped abruptly. Like, I was dating women for a long time. You know what I mean? Like all high school or 2 years of college, you know what I mean? Until I got pregnant with my son. And when it happened, I was just like, oh, okay, I had a boy. Like even listening to Ty, to you speak, and even knowing, Tia, that you're in the same sex marriage, it's almost like I'm able to see both sides so clearly because of the lifestyle that I've lived. But initially, I'm like, oh nah, I can't have my son. Uh, and this sounds, when I look back, my son's 20 now. You know what I mean? It sounds so ignorant what I'm about to say. You know what I mean? But in my mind, I'm like, listen, you gotta crack down. You can't be having your son thinking that the way you're living is the way that he has to live too. I want him to develop his own personality. Now, my best friend, she's his godmother, and she's always had a same sex relationship. She's on her second marriage, so he's always seen that, and I was okay with that. You know what I mean? Because she's an upstanding woman. They had a great lifestyle, all those things. But in my own household, I felt like that could have played a role. Do I feel that today? No. You know what I mean? To be honest, I felt like that was just at 20, I was 20 years old, you know what I mean? I was more influenced by societal norms, you know what I mean? Even though I thought I wasn't, because I was marching to my own beat. When I became a mother, something about that triggered me thinking like, oh, I have to follow society, and I have to do it like my mom did, and I have to do it like my dad.
It's pressure.
Yeah, the pressure, and so as I grew, I'm like, wait a minute, what am I talking about? My son, my daughter, he's all who he's gonna be. My daughter is all who she gonna be. You know what I mean? And of course, yes, I do believe that some children can be influenced, like you said, Ty, by some of the things that they've seen, some of the experiences that they've been through, and in some instances, kids are being molested and they're being overly exposed to sexuality, and so it's really redefining the way that they look at themselves and the way that they should be treated. So
And all of that is because of exposure, like you said.
exposure. It's all because of the exposure. And I think that the shift really started to take the shift really starts to take place when you decide to feed in to the societal norms, think about it, like how soon did we really start letting our kids get social media and cell phones and watching TV, and you know what I mean, and hanging out with their friends, and all the things that we know are creating more and more negative influences. Because let me tell you something, my mother, she TV.
I'm telling you.
First off, I had got in trouble. I got punished one day for whatever it was at school. And then I couldn't talk on the phone for during the week. This was like ninth grade or 10th grade, like the middle of ninth grade. After punishment was over, my dad said, I kind of like that rule. He said, no more talking on the phone during the week. Almost until the 11th grade. All 10th grade.
He just made that up as he went along.
Made it up as he went along. He took all time frames off the punishment and was like, this is just a new rule.
This is just the new norm now.
And so I couldn't have phone calls during the week. You know what I mean? And if someone called my phone during the week, I couldn't have phone calls on the weekend. Because that means I'm not letting people know what's going on
with the rules. I'm not making sure they following.
So baby, I would tell at 5 o'clock, 30 minutes before my mother was getting home, I'll call all my friends, bitch.
Don't call me.
Girl, you better not call this phone. I'll call my little boyfriends. Listen, I can't, I gotta go to work, or I got some work, or what I'm saying, I gotta watch my little brother. I can't be on the phone. Whatever the case was, do not call this phone. Do not call this phone.
And that's what I mean. Like, we didn't, that's the same thing with like my grandmother growing up in high school. She didn't buy me, she would not buy me a cell phone. Like, she was against it. And so if I wanted a cell phone, I had to buy it and pay my own bill, and even then, I still had rules about how long I could stay on the phone, or I wasn't. It wasn't until 12th grade that I got my phone in my own line in the house in my own
No,
room.
yeah.
You
I
know, like
understand that. Me too. Me too. Senior
yeah,
year.
like
Mhm.
Fine.
yeah, I couldn't have, I couldn't have my own line and all of that. And so like you said, it's a different, they're exposed, and a lot of that is contributed to mommy guilt, because everybody is trying to give their kids something to make sure that they don't feel left out or out of place. That's the crazy thing about it. We
Yep.
are thinking that if our kids go to school without a cell phone, all the other kids got a cell phone. Now our kids gonna get teased because they don't have a cell phone. So now I gotta get my child a cell phone because I don't want them to be teased in school. Or I can't send my kids to school in a certain type of outfit because this is what they wearing now. So now I have to keep up so that my child don't feel left out or feel uh bullied or whatever the case may be.
Or
We have
neglected.
Yeah, we have decided that everybody else is doing it. We just want our kids to fit in. We want them to feel normal. But then in the same aspect, that's not really teaching them to be authentically their self. And that's how we are putting our
Mhm.
own thoughts and feelings and ideas into their brain. Um, me and Tia had this conversation last night. I like women. I don't necessarily want to be in a relationship with them for my own personal reasons, but I have sex with women. I deal with women on a regular basis. I have never thought about not, if I had someone, not having them around my child. But to Carla's uh, statement, when I had my son, I didn't want him to be gay. Not because I was, didn't like gay men or didn't like gay people, but because I was taught
Right.
that you raise a straight man. You raise an alpha male to grow up,
Mhm.
to provide, to take care of, and that is the only way. You know what I mean? We were conditioned to say that that was the only way a man can be,
Yeah.
and the only way a female can be is a
Yeah.
feminine woman who is submissive to that man. That is it. And whether or not we started seeing all of these different lifestyles, once you are conditioned to feel that way, you don't even realize how just like you say, oh, boys don't cry. Like, you teach them not to cry, toughen up, do this, do that. You know, my son hated sports. Oh my goodness, he did not want to play football. He didn't want to play nothing aggressive. He is not an aggressive child.
Mhm.
And I put that boy in foot. You're gonna play football because it's gonna toughen you up. It's gonna give you some discipline. It's gonna do this. He hated it. Oh my goodness. It was a fight, but in my mind, that was what what boys did. They
Boys
played
dead.
football,
It was to
That's
be
you
right.
done.
know.
Mhm.
They did all of those things. And so we put that pressure on ourselves and ultimately on our kids because we want to make sure that they don't feel left out. But life is changing, and the new
Mhm.
norms and the way that non-binary and the LGBT, I don't know all the symbols, so forgive me, but the way that they are fighting for their right and to live the way they want to live, life is changing. You know what I mean? So what we thought was the new norm is no longer the new
Mhm.
norm. And had I shunned my son out and said, "No, you can't be gay," absolutely not. Had I done that, he would have felt left out because all his friends have households where their families are doing
Yeah.
it and they allow their kids to do it. But me, I'm so stuck in my own straight and narrow path of what I gotta do that I'm not listening.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
I
I
can,
don't
but
know. For me, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, my screen froze up, so I don't know if y'all can see me either.
I can see you. It is frozen.
Oh, okay. You said it is frozen?
It is
Yeah,
frozen,
I
but I can
see
see
it's
you.
frozen.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay, yeah. I can hear y'all, but everything's frozen, so I can't see anything. Okay. Sorry about that.
No worries. No worries. Um, yeah, those conditions and like I was saying, normal is boring over here. So
Yeah.
I look for different. I want you to do your own thing. Don't follow what I'm doing because I'm mommy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that.
Yep.
I need you to be your own person no matter what you see out here in this world. You need to be you. Are you comfortable with that? Is
Yep.
it worth it to you? Do you want to spend that excessive time doing that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the thoughts that I really put into my child's head. What are you thinking about? Because at the end of the day, the choice that you make, you got to deal with it.
Yep.
Not me. This
Yep.
is your life to live, you know? I'm here to guide you along the way.
And once we decide that that's what it
So
is,
I appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts with me on that.
once we decide that that's what it is
Go ahead. I'm
for,
sorry, Ty. I
you
can hear you.
know, people, for our kids anyway, and we decide that we want them to live their life
Hmm.
authentically, I feel like it makes it easier for them. And I always call my son my trial run
Yeah.
baby because I didn't know. We was figuring life out together. But he is the
Yep.
one
Yep.
that follows behind everybody. He's the one that he's easily influenced. He doesn't really have his own path.
Hmm.
Um, so I feel like I'm
Hmm.
constantly
Hmm.
thought provoking him as far as what do you now, whereas back then I wanted him to do what I wanted him to do. And I feel like that's why he's so easily influenced, but now at 16 and me being, wiser, I am thought
Right.
provoking him more. Like, what do you want? Is this what you really want? Like he doesn't like school, but he'll tell me, well, when I finish in military school, when I get my diploma, I want to go to college. And I'm like, you don't even like school. He's like, well, I want to prove to you that I can do it. I can pass my classes and I can graduate. I'm like, that's all fine and dandy, but if you don't like it, don't do it. Whereas my daughter, she's a
Hmm.
trailblazer. She
Hmm.
done planned her life from now all the way to 25, and you can't tell her that she can't do it. So it's a different method. I've
Hmm.
raised them a little bit differently, but it's because with my son, I wasn't uh I wasn't as knowledgeable, as I am now. I was more naive.
Hmm. Hmm. Man, what a discussion. What a discussion. I
It
do
was.
not, I don't have anything else that I could put towards that. It's nothing but realness being said tonight. It's authentic, just how I like it.
Always,
Man, I thank you
always.
guys so much. I thank you guys so much. Hopefully, Carla comes back in here before we close out. But I'm about to do my little spiel. Do you have anything else that you would like to share, or do you have someone that you would like to give flowers to?
I'm gonna give flowers to myself. Ty Speaks has come a long way. The last time I was on here, I did thank everybody, and that's important because a lot of people got me to where I am. Especially, I always praise my ex, even though, sometimes I hate his guts. We are a partnership that, for whatever reason, I can't seem to break away from. He's pretty influential in my life, but at the same time, I have brought myself a long way. So I always got to give myself my flowers while I'm still here because that's a part of self care. There
Mm-hmm.
she is.
Listen,
Yep.
I'm a little tech
Most
savvy. I had to
definitely.
figure that one
A
out.
little bit.
Hey.
And yeah, so just myself, and my business is taking off, my manifestation candles, the life coaching, all of that is taking off, and I'm just so grateful to be able to um be a part of conversations like this, because this is what I do on a regular basis. Like, I just sit online and talk to the people that, people will never say. We say the things, I think, as the influencers, we say the things that people don't normally say. And so being a part of panels, discussions, and podcasts like
Mm-hmm.
this is important. So giving myself my flowers, and you ladies, because it takes a lot to come in and talk about even the littlest part of your personal life, and opening up, and allowing people to
Mm-hmm.
see how
Mm-hmm.
you got to where you are.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Yep. So the
Yeah.
In my
question
stage,
was,
y'all.
do you have anything else that you would like to share, Carla? Or um, I see that Sage going. Or is there anyone that you'd like to give flowers to before we close
Yes,
out?
yes, absolutely. Definitely giving flowers to you. You know what I mean? We work together in other capacities and on other business ventures. So I already know that you are a mamapreneur. You know what I mean? I already know that you are a boss in your own right in multiple industries. And I just want to give you your flowers because doing something like this, the key to this and anything that's worth having is consistency. And the value of consistency, especially in podcasts, goes unmentioned, unappreciated,
Yeah.
because there are people who we see who have podcasts that have been on for several years, and we don't know the price that they've paid in order to have the success of where they are now. So I just want to say to you, as somebody who has worked with you in other capacities, that I'm extremely proud of you for your consistency, for your dedication to this. This is something that you have talked about for a couple years. And I've known that you wanted to do this for a while now. So it really takes a little bit of smarts mixed with a little bit of crazy uh, to jump out there and actually do something. You think about success, and the average successful person, what makes them different from anybody else is the fact that they can see something that they're envisioning long before it actually manifests into what they want it to be, what it's supposed to be. So the average person, they dream, but they don't really believe that that shit could happen, you know. But a successful person is already successful long before the success actually
Yeah.
catches up with them.
Yeah.
And so I see what you're doing, and I recognize that, and I'm constantly sending love and light your way. So I definitely wanted to, say something about that. But I also wanted to mention the fact that um, two things. One, I'm doing an event on December 10th that I wanted to plug you guys into, and it's something simple. It's a headshot happy hour. So, with both of you guys being entrepreneurs, I know that
Okay.
come 2024, a lot of people are looking to rebrand and reposition themselves within their businesses. So I'm having an event on December 10th from 6:30 to 9:30. I'll make sure I get the flyer to you guys so you can send it out there to your network. But it's really just going to be a headshot happy hour where you can come mix and mingle, get your headshot done, and then meet some other, people in the entrepreneur world or in the business industry. So I would love for y'all to come to that. And then two, as you know, Tia, I'm constantly representing entrepreneurship, and I am in network marketing. I also help entrepreneurs create additional streams of income. So I definitely, Ty, I gotta connect with you for sure. Like I've been thinking about connecting
Yes.
the last time. So you're connected with all the right people. Tia's doing an amazing job connecting the dots with each other. So one of the concepts of my business beauties, the our you know what we do is connect, collaborate, and promote together. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And that's really the whole concept. And Tia, you are absolutely the prime example of what a business beauty represents. You know, you may see the
yes.
beauty. Our motto is you may see the beauty, but it's business first. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I appreciate you providing us with
Yes,
this
I love it.
platform. Thank you.
Yes, it's always a nice platform. I love it. I think it's an awesome idea, and I work with women. You know, I have a networking league here in Baltimore that I work with that is full of entrepreneurs. Like I just love working with women, and not to take away from other races, but I genuinely enjoy working with other
What
black
our people?
women. I enjoy it. You know, I enjoy helping other women who don't really have that voice, you know, because not everybody's gonna have it, not
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants it. But they are the same people that need to feel like they aren't alone, which is why I don't mind being a voice. And which is why I do what I do. You know, like my manifestation candles aren't just, and I had to say that on my post one time, like, you know, this isn't just candles that smell nice. You know, these are for people that really feel like they need to connect with something deeper, to find peace, to find grounding, to find balance, to find whatever it is that they need to find, you know, that they
Mm-hmm.
aren't able to find in other areas of their life. And
Yep.
I don't mind saying that. I had to tell my mother this today because she was like, I mean, I love that you tell your story, but I just don't like that you put it all on social media and it's this, that, and the third. And I had to tell her, like, you know, I'm not for everybody. My products aren't for everybody. But I promise you that I will find, and my products will find who is meant to find, and it'll help
That's
who is
that.
meant to help. And that's it. And that's all we can do. And so platforms like these, whether it reaches 10, 20, 10,000, or 20,000 people, I'm satisfied. I get so many DMs um, from people, sometimes the same people who are like, you know, you're just such an inspiration. I'm like, I ain't done nothing but talk crap, talk shit on social media today, but you know, you're welcome.
You never know who you're impacting. You never know what your story might reveal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
So
never
this is
never
yeah. So this is an awesome platform, and I'm just grateful. I'm on always. Every time you ask, the answer is yes.
Yep. Oh, and lastly, I do have one final little shout out. The month of November, the month of November is really big for my family and I. And this year, right, I think it was right the day before Thanksgiving, we celebrated 12 years of my son being cancer free. So I just want to give him a shout out. He probably can hear me upstairs.
Yes.
Just celebrating him being cancer
Shout
free.
out to
Yeah,
you.
thank you. Thank you so much. So, yes, this topic was so on point, Tia. It was perfect. It's exactly it's really helping me because of the things that I'm going through right now, you know, with the co-parenting and the mommy guilt and raising a young adult
Hmm.
and raising a young teenager,
That's
you
right.
know. So
Mhm.
those things that are happening in our lives right now, this platform and this conversation was the perfect therapeutic self-care informative event that I
I
needed.
mean, it really was. It really is. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, people don't understand what self-care is. It could be anything, any
Anything.
release, any
Right.
release.
Oh, thank
Self-care,
you.
listen,
Thank you.
self-care can be something as small as sitting in your car an extra 20 minutes before you get out just to woo-saw. And I do that daily.
I'm sorry, y'all. This candle smell like something, even though it's supposed to be unscented. So I'm just smelling it because it smells good. It says, I mean, I made it obviously, but but I'm just sitting here like, what I put in here?
Like surprise.
That's a nice blend, honey. That's a nice blend.
I thought it say unscented on the can. I promise.
Listen,
Don't worry, y'all. I'm
name
gonna make sure
you
I
can
get y'all candles right.
you
Because
can
sometimes
name
I
that
be making my own.
you can name that one no more mommy guilt.
No
No
more.
more mommy
That's it.
guilt.
Because that's whatever it is. I don't know. I try to. I think I put just use unscented on my own labels when I be mixing all types of stuff over here. But that one, I was like, I ain't never smelled that before. I don't know what I put in there. I might have to go find that.
It's giving different.
Yes. One of a kind, never to be duplicated.
Well, yes. Mm. Well, most definitely shout out to that big boy of yours, cancer free. And
Yes.
congratulations to you, Torch Mom, holding it down. Okay.
Yes.
Because he is getting
Yes.
grown now.
20 years old, grown. Grown.
Him getting grown now. That's what's up. That's what's up. 12 years in the running. Well, I thank you guys so much for sharing space with me tonight. I truly appreciate your energy and time. So, negativity is forbidden and energy is power. Didn't have a backstage pass to check out the live stream? It'll be available for viewing on our YouTube channel, the Torch Mom Podcast. So be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Follow us on Instagram at the Torch Mom Podcast. If you have any experiences or questions to share, send us an email to the Torch Mom Podcast at gmail.com. Remember, what you desire, you already have. We love you. Stay torch.